Today we're joined with Karen Graham, who's the CEO of Talent Rise in Australia and New Zealand. Now, Talent Rise recently released a report titled Behind the Figures, which looks into the challenges that young people face when entering the workforce. There was also a Rise Day, which was launched on September the 3rd this year, which involved worldwide team members from Talent Rise and its associated charity foundation, taking part in a phone call initiative with young people who had registered the details. Now, the aim of the report is to raise awareness of the issues that young people face when trying to enter the workforce. So, good morning, Karen.
Good morning. Very nice to be here.
Likewise. Now, the phone call hookup that you did with young people, was there anything that jumped out at you that was highlighted with challenges that the young people are facing?
Yes, yes, there was. I mean, I think, we spoke to 470 people globally, and I think there were some really key themes that emerged from that. Obviously, that a lot of young people are struggling to find employment. So we discovered that for many young people, they've been searching for over a year to find employment, which is obviously a huge amount of time. And really getting pushed back a lot. So putting in lots of applications, really showing a lot of determination and commitment to finding a job, but being pushed back. And very often that was the result of not having experience. So very much a vicious cycle of almost needing experience to get experience. And employers really valuing experience over, I guess, potential. And not really looking at sort of thinking about training in-house and wanting to sort of have everything, and therefore young people not really getting a look in to opportunities.
Now, how does the education system play into it? Are they preparing our young people to enter the workforce, or is that discounted by employers? And again, as you said, experience is more the thing than education and qualifications for them.
Well, certainly from our findings, it would appear that experience trumps education. It would appear that there's a sense that actually experience in the workforce is essential in order to be considered for what should be entry-level opportunities. So it does seem that more needs to be done potentially in the education system to work with employers to give young people opportunities to I guess bridge that gap, and equally for employers to be able to be more willing potentially to upskill young people on the job, and take attitude and potential as a starting point, and then provide the training that's necessary to bridge that gap from education to work experience.
Now, did the report look into both white collar and blue collar, or was more one sector than the other that the respondents came from?
Quite across the board, to be honest with you, actually. We spoke to young people from quite a lot of different backgrounds, with quite a wide variety of backgrounds and struggles. A large majority of them were actually very interested in tech. I guess for young people, they're the digital natives. This is the world they've grown up with. So interestingly, for many of them, regardless of their background, they were really interested in exploring opportunities in the tech space, and 87% of our respondents said they were actually interested in potentially reskilling, retraining in tech. So there's a particular interesting imperative here in I guess, the thriving and growing tech industry for to consider young people. And interestingly, that was the sector where when we looked into the LinkedIn report, entry-level roles are the hardest to come by without experience.
Now, does the tech industry have an equivalent of the apprenticeship? I know we have the internships, which seem nearly to be a bonded servitude type system, which I feel a lot of young people are taken advantage of to be asked to work for nothing in exchange for the all-important experience. Would a apprenticeship type style where employers had the option of taking someone on at a lesser rate and training them up, would that be something that could work?
Yes, I think that would be really important, actually. And I think kind of giving people some valuable experience. It does a number of things. It gives them some work experience. It gives them something for their CV. It gives them some lived experience to talk to as well when they go for interviews. I totally agree with you. We feel very strongly about paying young people for internships. We come across young people in Rise who have done 4, 5, 6 unpaid internships in order to get experience whilst kind of working aside from that in Coles or McDonald's or KFC just to make ends meet. And that really doesn't feel like a fair exchange. So I think something has to shift that really recognises that yes, there is value for young people getting experience in an internship, but there is also something for the employer as well that they're gaining in terms of a different perspective and different views and I guess that digital experience to bring to bear.
Now, myself as a mature age student, really, really mature age, just back at university, how does the prospect of a 3 or 4 year degree and the HECS debt that's associated with the cost of it weigh up with how we go with workplace experience? Are they starting to outweigh the other now? Are employers looking more, as you say, for the experience and less at the qualifications? Would people or our young people be better served not putting that emphasis on a university degree and getting into the workforce, do you think?
Yeah, I think there's evidence that young people are questioning the value of a long degree, and as you say, both the cost and the time that goes into that, and the frustration then of having a very solid qualification but then not being able to find a job. So I think we are definitely seeing young people questioning the right path after education, after secondary education, and a move to actually more practical experience rather than 3 or 4 years in education, which doesn't guarantee them a job. And that's changed a lot, obviously, since I left education as well, where you were pretty much guaranteed a job if you'd gone to university or taken some tertiary study. And that's certainly not the case for young people now.
Now, with our youth, are they still affected the same way as our general population as far as the gender experience goes? We know the pandemic has disproportionately affected women. A lot of them are in insecure or part-time or flexible work, and a lot of those jobs seem to go. Is the gender divide also for our youth entering?
I don't know that we've got evidence necessary to support that more generally. I think we're potentially seeing it still more in the tech sector, as we spoke about earlier, where I think that industry is possibly less inviting or enabling for young women who kind of look at the kind of life ahead in that industry, which is quite obviously very growing rapidly, but quite high pressure as well. I think generally for young people, certainly the pandemic has very severely impacted the areas that they traditionally would start working in. So for many of the young people we come across, regardless of where they want to end up, they often start working and get that work experience and references, etc., in hospitality, in retail, in those areas where actually those jobs have really been severely impacted. So they've lost that first, I guess, step on the ladder to build some confidence and identity and connections through that first job, which leaves them feeling slightly less confident and sort of almost without hope as to what's the next step.
Yeah. All right, Karen, to close off with, most important piece of advice you could give a young person starting out, looking for that experience, or somebody who's been made redundant or furloughed because of the pandemic, what one piece of advice would you give them?
I think be really confident about your transferable skills, regardless of where you've come from. Everybody has experience that's valuable. So be determined and be committed and be proud of what you have to offer. I think also reach out for support. I think one of the things we learned was actually that mentoring and coaching and support is really helpful to keep people on a journey. So find people in your network that you can talk to that might open doors. Obviously, organisations like Talent Rise are here to really help and support young people to get their CV, to help them with interview practice, and really try and open doors to give them that first break into a sustainable career.
All right, that's Karen Graham, CEO of Talent Rise Australia and New Zealand. Thanks for your time, Karen.
Thank you very much. It was great to have the opportunity to talk to you, Michael.